All right, welcome back, everybody, to episode 105 of the Truetalks podcast. Today, I'm Jaylin. I'm joined with my co-host,
Darian.
and we have a very special guest, Tom Myers. Darian, how do you know Tom Myers?
Yeah, so over the summer, I was looking for different startups to internet just to get more product experience and actually pivot away from finance. And I came across this wonderful sheet, and one of the startups, Pro Nexus, was actually on there. Um, and I guess Tom could say from his side, the whole process of going through interviews and how he created a PowerPoint and pitched what I would contribute as the go-to-market strategy. So been working with him over the summer just to develop more of what the core product would actually look like.
And I'm glad that you guys were able to meet each other, and I'm glad that we're able to get you on the pod. Is there anything that Darian missed himself with the introduction? Would you like to say anything about yourself before we get started?
No, I want to emphasize that Darian was great over the course of the summer. He kind of helped spearhead some of the response. So one of the big things that is important to our business is overall response rates. So he kind of was able to take a deep dive into that and provide a lot of value there. So I can share more on how that relates to the broader picture of what we're building through subsequent questions then.
Thanks, Tom. I'll pay you after.
Yeah.
But for some people that might not know, Pro Nexus is an experts automation platform, but I think you can explain it best. So what is Pro Nexus in a nutshell?
Yeah, in a nutshell, I think our one-liner is verified expert sourcing 10 times faster. So that's kind of a little bit of buzzwordy, but basically what we do at a very high level is we help connect investment professionals that are doing some form of due diligence or market research with subject matter experts that understand a market really well. So thinking about like a PE firm, they might want to gain more confidence about a particular thesis that they have before purchasing an asset. So they'll typically want to talk with a bunch of market leaders or a bunch of people that have used that software, competitors in that market. And basically what we do is we help connect them with the right individuals. How we go about that now is a little bit different than what our end vision is, but basically we're a matchmaker at the end of the day.
That's great. Very meaningful work that I feel like is going behind the scenes. And for a bit of context, you started as a strategy consultant beforehand. So I was wondering, is there an aha moment, sort of a revelation when you realized that the corporate ladder wasn't for you?
Great question. I would say it was, so I've always had, we'll say entrepreneurial thoughts throughout my, say high school, college. In college, my first entrepreneurial endeavor was a power washing business over the course of the summer. And I didn't know anything about power washing. And basically what I did, I watched like a bunch of YouTube videos, would go door to door and put like flyers on and like try to cold sell people. It was pretty bad. I got a lot of no's, a lot of doors slammed in my face. But I would get like a bunch of clients or a bunch of people on one day, and then I would actually rent the pressure washer and then use that as the means. So it was a really low cost way of making a really decent amount of money. I was a lifeguard before that, and I realized I could make whatever the minimum wage was, like $8 an hour doing that, or I could go do pressure washing, which was the market rate was near $100 per hour. And like, to me, it was like so clear that this is like the right path. It kind of opened my eyes and the vision for what the entrepreneurial life could become. And I think I got the itch there. Flash forward, joined as a consultant after undergrad, kind of fell into the more typical route that a lot of the business students go into. And basically chose consulting because I didn't really know what I wanted to do in life, but realized that kind of kicked the can down the road where I could continue to learn, continue to cultivate different skills. Then to flash forward a little bit further, was always interested in the expert network space. There's a couple different reasons, but And basically what expert networks are is they do what I initially said, is they connect those investment professionals with those subject matter experts. And that whole process is just super painful. There's a lot of manual steps involved. It was either myself or an associate beneath me having to copy and paste information from an email into an Excel spreadsheet. It was just like a ton of manual workflows. And I worked as a product manager on some tooling to try to build and solve this problem. The TLDR there is it didn't end up doing too well for a whole host of reasons. But that was kind of the jumping off point where I realized I saw firsthand the firm try to solve this problem. They couldn't, and I thought I could do a better job. So at that point, I left fall of last year to go figure things out.
Yeah, I love that you were able to address a problem that wasn't being able to get resolved, and actually bring your own input at it and try to resolve it yourself. But your whole entire upbringing that you were just talking about, I could really relate to that as well. It's really funny because I actually did door-to-door sales this summer for Verizon, actually, selling Verizon products, and I could, I hear the same things, all the no's that I get. It's just like, I like to say it's like a mental slap in the face, which is just really like painful mentally. And then I also did lifeguarding as well, and then I saw that trade-off between like making that low like hourly income versus like being able to put in as much work as I want, and basically however much work I put in is kind of like what I get in terms of like money. So it's really funny how we kind of have that same upbringing. But I wanted to ask you was, now that you're a founder and you've kind of had that founder experience when you're younger doing that power washing business, but was there ever a time where somebody assumed something like really crazy about your life as a founder?
It might have been Darian over the course of the summer, where I think he asked me about if I did cold plunges every day or something along those lines. I'm a fan of cold plunges, but I don't think this is like a thing that founders do on like a daily basis. I don't think. I think maybe something else is that a lot of people think founders have everything figured out, and that they're just kind of this all-knowing oracle of like grinding and knowing the right answers to stuff. It's like, I don't know, smarter people have said it better. It's like jumping off an airplane and like building a parachute on the way down, or building an airplane on the way down. That's kind of like what it feels like. Is I don't have a lot of the answers. It's just being in the environment, figuring things out. And yeah, I think that's how a lot of the other founders. I'm in an accelerator program through NYU, and yeah, I would say the rest of the founders, there's nothing super unique about them. Maybe their determination and their motivation to get stuff done, but yeah, they're not like geniuses with IQs of over 200 or anything crazy like that.
I like that kind of insider look, and I appreciate the raw honesty there, because I feel like a lot of people have the preconception that in order to be a founder, you have to be having some revelational idea, or you have to be super smart to begin with, that you excelled in all your classes. But at the end of the day, what it sounds like, it's these regular people that had a really big risk appetite and were able to just swing big. They were able to just work hard and sustainably take those big risks throughout the course in order to eventually find success. It's kind of with like sales, how I think like the more doors you knock on, the more likely you are to find a paying client. And with every single day that you are a founder, you're going to have one day where you'll reach that level of success, but like every day is a day closer to it.
Yeah.
Wow. That was really well said.
That was well put, Darian. Good job.
Thank you.
One thing I do want to highlight is I think a lot of people think that founders are super risky, and like even from my career standpoint, like leaving the corporate world at consulting to go do this, there is an element of risk, but I try to de-risk it as much as possible, and I think it's taking the calculated risks is what's really important. Like I'm not an advocate for most people to just go leave their job blindly. Ideally, you build it as much as you can while you're still employed and still collecting that salary, to then build the conviction that this is something that I want to go do full time.
I like that. Sort of going on the consultant terms. If you were to do a due diligence on your life and the decision to leave corporate, how did you build enough conviction to begin with to know that this isn't for me? Like, I think I want to take the steps to be a founder.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say it was twofold. The framework was getting a sense check or a gut check from the firm that I was at, from like partners and managers that I was close to, but then also making sure and validating that this wasn't just like a problem that this specific firm had, but this was like a broader challenge that the McKinsey, Baines, other consulting firms also encountered. It was twofold in the sense of talking to close managers and partners about kind of the problem space. I was still like toying around with like what the right vision is or how I want to solve it, but making sure that this was like a problem worth solving, both internally from people I trusted, but also more broader, just to like ensure that the market size isn't just this one company, which for some people, like, that's fine. If it's a big enough company and you sell them a million widgets each year and you're making $1 off one, yeah, that's not a bad business. But for the business that I'm trying to build, I just wanted to validate this was like a broader problem. So the way I did that was just fortunate enough to, the thing about consulting is most people leave after a couple of years and they usually jump to like another consulting firm or whatnot. So your network becomes pretty diverse pretty quick. So I was fortunate enough to have some friends at other consulting firms and just like called them up and was like, hey, how do you guys do this? But also do a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. I'm a big fan of LinkedIn outreach, setting up some good sequences in regards to that. I've had some backfire in my face too, where it was just like a botched sequence. So be very careful with those because those can burn some relationships. But aside from that, very, very bullish on LinkedIn outreach, and was able to help give me conviction around the problem space.
Yeah, I think it's really important to stay connected with your whole network. And as something Darian said to me in the past, your network is your net worth. And I think that really shows in your story. And it's just, yeah, really important to stay, always looking for connections on LinkedIn. How would you say, when to, I guess, maintain some connections that you've made on LinkedIn, or when you should, just back off on other connections?
Yeah, I would say it depends on what you're looking for. So if it's just like you're reaching out to maintain a loose connection with someone, yeah, I haven't perfected that science yet of maintaining those like loose ties that you have with people that you might have met at a one-off happy hour, or maybe you just see their profile and they're doing something that is interesting that you eventually want to do. Yeah, it's certainly a fine line there. I don't think I send any more than like 3 follow-ups to people. So I would say that that's like the cutoff, and because you also don't want to make them too mad where they then write a post about you and makes you look a little desperate. But I think I've done that when I was looking for jobs, maybe after undergrad, and was like sending some things to like consulting firms or other places that I was looking at. So I think it just really depends on what your goal is or who you're trying to connect with, and that can determine how aggressive you wanna be with it all.
100% agree. It's sort of putting in the reps and then filtering out the ones once you have that quantity, more so into quality. And I remember with one of our calls that we had early in the morning when I was working at Pro Nexus, we were asking like, what was the like dumbest mistake that you made when networking? And then we each had our own little story. And I think it's important to keep in mind that like mistakes are okay. Like, Tom, do you have an example of like a mistake that you've made maybe early on as being a founder, or even like recruiting as a consultant?
Oh man. Yeah, there's a lot. I gotta really I gotta figure out the best one to say here. To my point earlier, it's like, yeah, I've made a lot of mistakes throughout this journey. I definitely thought it was going to be a lot easier, a lot smoother of a ride. Boy, going back to interviews for consulting, I think to be candid there, I struggled with some of those interviews early on. I didn't case too well. My quick math on some things is like not great, where I'm fine if you just give me a piece of paper and I'm in the corner of a room, like I can do whatever. But as soon as I'm on the spot and there's like three people looking at me, like asking me what the square root of a huge number is, like my brain just like auto shuts out. So I've had instances during interviews where I just like completely blanked and have probably bombed them pretty thoroughly. So I think the way to get past that, or that helped me, was just putting yourself in more of those situations, more of those environments to desensitize yourself. So kind of back to the knocking on doors in a neighborhood, like, yeah, the first couple hurt, but by the 100th one, it's just like you're just less phased through that. So that's always my advice for people that want to go into consulting. I was not the best caser. I became a better caser at the end of it just by throwing myself into the deep end and in those environments where I had to sharpen up.
Yeah. I think it's great that, you're able to have such a big journey from going on struggling in those interviews towards, now like being very confident in yourself and being able to, found your own company and lead a whole team. I think that goes to show your growth over the years. But in terms, like, besides money, what is one like non-monetary way that you measure your success?
Another good question. I think I'm definitely, this is a little bit more of a fluffy metric, but I am trying to optimize for stronger personal relationships. I think as a lot of time with founders is you kind of get in that grind set mode. And this was me for many months, where I don't know, I've had a lot of friends that I want to reach out to, or I want to catch up with, but I'm just like I'm in this mode where it's just hard to do that. So I don't have a great means of, this is something that I'm figuring out real time, is like, how can I do both? I know that this is going to be a marathon. So yeah, I might be able to eke out a little bit more productivity by not following up with friends, or I have a lot of unread messages too on my phone that I need to respond back to. So yeah, it's something along the lines of maintaining those personal relationships along this journey. I think it's just, you got to be intentional about that, because it's very easy to just get fully engrossed in the work, fully engrossed in the startup, that you like forget things exist outside of that. And I don't know, it can be very lonely, and it's definitely something that I'm figuring out.
I empathize with that a lot, because I feel like it's a bit paradoxical how people view startups as this means to achieve freedom, so that you're always in the Bahamas with friends, and like you're always going out and you're always having a good time. But the reality of it looks like a lot of days where you're just building alone. You're coding at night and marketing during the day. And with that point of like your network being your net worth, sort of how, like you highlighted, how quality instead of quantity is more important within relationships.
Yeah, agreed.
Mhm. And sort of on the note with people, like you as a consultant, you've been able to work with so many different people in so many different industries. What do you think is one thing that's true about people everywhere, no matter the business?
Man, you guys are hitting me with some tough questions here. Boy, what is true about people? I'm a big believer in incentives. I think that, I don't know who said this. This might have been Warren Buffett. It was like, if you show me the incentives, I'll show you the outcome, or something along those lines. And I think this is like something that I've encountered my entire life of consulting, founder. just like motivating team members, motivating co-founders, seeing how to get particular customers or prospective clients to like respond to cold emails. Like at the end of the day, I think it's really understanding the incentive structure that people have and like what would make it interesting to them. I think no matter the context, no matter the business, no matter what you're doing in a business, like understanding that concept will get you very far.
I've actually never heard that one before. Show me that incentive and then I'll show you that outcome. Can you elaborate a little bit more on like what that means?
Yeah, I could be butchering this quote too. I think it was Warren Buffett, but I could be way off with that. But it's like the idea that I'm trying to think of a good tangible example here. Let me think about how this has worked recently. I had a little bit of a longer day today, and my brain is not operating at full capacity. I was hoping to get like a break between this session, and unfortunately, I came for like another Zoom call at a little bit before. Yeah, I don't have a great example, but it's along the lines of, I mean, here's one is so why something that I was a little bit on the fence of when I first partnered with my co-founder was I felt like because I came up with the idea, I had the roadmap. I basically developed a lot of the first MVP of like what exactly things look like and whatnot. It almost felt like I felt like I was entitled to a higher percentage of equity as a result. But I think taking the longer term approach there and realizing that when you have that more equal split, their incentive to work harder and like knowing that you're in it as equals, you're both in the trenches, like it just goes so much further. Like, yeah, I might be able to I could have negotiated it a little bit more, but at the end of the day, the equity is going to be worth nothing if this business doesn't succeed. So understanding like what's going to motivate other team members, co-founders, employees, etc. I think is just super important to kind of getting to the goal or getting to where you want to be.
That's a great revelation. I feel like a lot of people that start off don't have that long-term thinking because they think no matter what they do versus like even though the equity is the same, they're going to end up at the same spot. So they get a little greedy. There was a similar YC video that explained that you should get as close to equal equity with your co-founder as possible. Were there any other revelations that maybe you have now that you're a little further into your startup journey that looking back you didn't realize before?
Yeah, I think something that I alluded to earlier was just the sheer importance of technical talent and making sure that there's folks on your team that deeply understand the tech. Like we're not doing anything too crazy. We're not like competing with Anthropic or OpenAI with anything. We're using them as the models for everything, but making sure that you I guess when I first went into this, I thought, okay, ChatGPT, OpenAI is incredible. It can basically turn anyone into a senior software engineer. Like we don't really need anyone on our team that's like experienced in scale and whatnot. I've realized that that's actually not the case at all, and that you really do need team members. As great as the code that these that Cursor and Claude Code are outputting, you just really need someone that understands the nuts and bolts about it. So that's been probably my most recent learning. I want to say in the past like month or two, I was like super bullish on all the AI coding, and then have realized that it's vibe coding only gets you so far, and you kind of need some folks that understand things pretty deeply.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, as a computer science major right now, I'm glad that, my job isn't, fully gone in the future.
Not at all, no.
Yeah, but yeah, I really think that it's important that somebody really does understand, just in case, AI does mess up one day. And I was I heard from somebody that I talked to recently that it's just really important. You know, AI isn't really going to replace anybody in the near future. It's more so the people that know how to use AI and the people that are resourceful are going to be taking over the jobs of the people that don't know how to use AI and that don't know how to use their resources properly.
Yeah.
But
I would
yeah.
I would definitely echo that, and I would say that's what we're trying. That's how we're positioning Pro Nexus too. Is we're not eliminating consultants. We're probably not even reducing the number of them. I think the value prop is it allows them to focus on other more value add activities. So instead of being in the trenches doing just like manual work of copying and pasting things from one spot to the next, you're taking a look at things and basically operating as a manager. So I would say that we enable the consultants to work one level higher, to like do some of that thinking, do some of the stuff that I don't think AI is going to replace in the near term here. That I just think humans are better positioned to figure things out. So yeah, definitely echo that statement.
Definitely. I feel like we talk a lot about good advice and like this echoing. But I think the flip side is equally as important because you talk to a lot of people, you get a lot of feedback. Is there ever a piece of advice where you've gone like, that is the worst piece of advice I've ever heard, and it has not helped you?
Yeah, let me think about that.
Like bad advice to a founder
Yeah, bad advice to a founder.
that might be common for people to say.
Yeah. I mean, I think something that I mentioned earlier is that if you truly believe in the idea, quit your job and go into it with both feet. I think that's actually pretty bad advice generally. I think people should de-risk it as much as possible. Whether that's moonlighting at nights and weekends, figuring out how to build conviction on the idea without being full time, and only once you have that conviction, taking the jump to do that. I think that's my big thing that I would say, and would stress to any potential entrepreneurs out there is that you don't need to be in it full time to develop that conviction. You might have to sacrifice your social life for a period of time, but if you're serious about it, then you're going to make that work, and you're going to be up late during the week, whether you got school or work or whatnot, and then your weekends might be also taken up by it. But yeah, I think it's just a much more rational approach. I think a lot of people think founders are these super risk loving individuals, and yeah, I'll say that maybe on average I'll take a little bit more risk, but I don't know. I think my friends would say I'm pretty risk averse, and this was a pretty calculated move. So definitely would recommend that to anyone that's looking to make that jump is to build that conviction first.
Mhm. I've been hearing actually a lot of people saying to take risks, to be bold, and to take those risks like right now, as soon as you can, because like later on the stakes are just going to be much higher.
Yeah.
So it's it is interesting hearing your advice on like, you know, making sure that the risk is calculated so that, you know, the consequences won't be as bad if things don't turn out as good. But like looking back on your life and like where you started, would you say there's anything that you regretted like throughout your journey that you would do differently?
Hmm. No, I really don't have a. I don't think I have a great answer here. I've been very fortunate. Something that's unique is so in high school I was not the best student overall. I think I took school semi seriously, but I think I was preoccupied with the sports, and I just like, and it was never my main focus. So what I ended up going to a state school that was nearby for my first 2 years of college. And I think at that point, things started to click for me. And I started taking school more seriously. I realized, oh, this isn't actually that bad. This is like actually super interesting to me. Really gravitated towards just overall business stuff. I got into listening to more podcasts, started that pressure washing business during that summer. And at that point, I then started applying to different universities and was fortunate enough to get into Cornell. So part of me would have liked to spend, so I only spent 2 years at Cornell. I think there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of value of being there on campus that I wish I would have had some additional time with, that I might have been able to if I took high school more seriously, or if I was a better student there. But to be completely candid, I'm very fortunate with how everything turned out. And yeah, I can't really say that I regret it too much there.
I love that mindset. I think gratitude's such a huge thing, because even for the people that might have accolades that other people desire, they still subconsciously might not be content with their own situation just because they lack gratitude. So that's definitely like a point that's important to emphasize. But I feel like even at a state school, there's so much to be grateful for. And kind of want to like pivot that into a more of like a fun question. Like, say you just woke up and no money to your name, no connections, non-target school, you're in a cardboard box outside in the streets. Like, what would the first things be to rebuild to where you are now?
Yeah, I think my priority would be to get some form of money as soon as possible. I would say, it was the summer of my freshman year where I got into this whole pressure washing thing. I don't want to say I was broke, but I didn't really have like a lot of money. And I think that, again, I had that decision note of, do I continue lifeguarding, or I don't even know how I got into pressure washing. I even knew that this was a business. But was fortunate enough to learn about that. And I think if I woke up in that cardboard box again, I would do something very similar to I think the blue collar trades. Like you can make some decent money, especially the way that I structured things, where I would get the clients first on a particular day, tell them, hey, can I clean your house on Saturday? And then I would arrange like 5 people on that day, and then just rent everything. And there's really no risk. No, I didn't have to take any risk of investing in like a pressure washer, like all these crazy machinery. You just kind of use leverage of validating the demand first, logistically making it simple, and then just like renting something in order to complement things. So yeah, I think you can get savvy with something along those lines, and ideally, I would do that for some period of time to where I could then maybe hire a couple of folks, maybe off Craigslist, see who I can find, and then from there, kind of scale things up to where I would want to do something more in AI. As cool as pressure washing is, it's definitely not where I would want to stay, but I think it would be a good mechanism to kind of accrue some dollars to then get some stability and a foundation to explore further.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I love how Darian just threw like a really crazy hypothetical scenario at you, and you're still able to really overcome that. And you already had something planned, which is what differentiates you and many other founders from like some of the homeless people that we found on the streets.
No comment on them. But yeah, I do think mindset is very important, and I would like to think if I lost a lot of what I had, I think it's that ability to like just figure things out. I think this was something that probably the biggest thing I took away from consulting is that I wasn't someone that would ask a lot of I wasn't someone that would ask for a lot of help. And I think that was a double-edged sword, but it helped me a lot when I don't have a manager anymore of, okay, Tom, you don't know what to do today. All right, how do you figure out from the entire world of possibilities, how do you figure what are the 5 activities that you should actually be doing? And yeah, I've developed a bit of a framework for that. But yeah, it's something that I'm still refining though.
Yeah, love that. Just another follow-up question. I got another hypothetical scenario for you. Maybe not as crazy as Darian's question, but something I think that might be a little bit more relatable on the inside in some families. Let's say in that same scenario, right? You're, power washing, but your parents really want you to go down that corporate route, and they really want you to stick in that route. They don't want you taking that risk. They don't want you self-managing yourself and becoming a founder, because that is just too risky. And they spent a large ton of their money on your education. What would you say to them if you really wanted to pursue your business, but they didn't allow you to?
That's hard, especially if they paid for a large portion of your education. I don't know. That would I think the way that I would approach that is I would probably still get that corporate job, and then try to moonlight things to build the conviction and to show them, hey, mom and dad, I'm following what you guys think is best, but I've also been working on this thing on the side. It is now at a point where I think this can be much bigger than what my corporate job is doing. I'm gonna go leave and try to explore this path. But like again, it comes back to my point on de-risking it as much as possible. And I think it's amazing the amount that you can do to validate something, even on a part-time standpoint. So yeah, I think my approach there would be to go down that probably more corporate, if that's what they're leaning me towards, and they paid for my education. I would feel a little bit in debt to like at least explore that world. And honestly, you never know what problems or what opportunities might come through that experience. Like for me, for example, I would never have landed on expert network or expert sourcing if I didn't already have that corporate experience. So I don't know. I think for a lot of people that they want to be eventual entrepreneurs, I don't think it's bad to go into corporate life for a period of time. And like, I think I've learned a lot of lessons of how to communicate with stakeholders. Again, being able to figure things out, ambiguous problems. So there's been a ton of value that I've gotten from the corporate world. And I don't know if I would advocate to every student out there that you should just go into your business right after graduating. I think sometimes it's good to learn what that life is like, and just be mindful of the golden handcuffs. I think I see time and time again, people get those around, and you got to be careful. But if you're truly motivated and you see a problem, then I think you can make it happen.
1,000%. I feel like there's so many new skills that you can acquire as being an operator that you might not see until you're working the actual job.
Yeah.
And that's clearly proven in case, because you wouldn't have found out the problem of expert networks if you never went the corporate route. And
For
which
sure.
is where the best like startups tend to come from. And on that theme of different skills, do you think there's like a hidden founder skill that nobody expects but actually really helps you?
I don't know if it's a skill, but I think it goes back to the mindset, and being able to just figure stuff out. Like again, there's so many times in a day where I am questioning, like, am I working on the right thing? Am I doing the right thing that actually matters? Because again, you don't have a manager that you can validate this is what you're supposed to be doing. Once you finish that, then okay, you're on track for the promo or the raise, or that you're doing your job well. So it's a lot of testing and trial and error. I would say the framework that I use in order to boil down. So typically what I'll do is maybe in the morning, make a list of all the things that I think I should be doing over the course of the day. And if that list is too long, then typically what I'll do is I'll map each one of those activities to one of two things. The first being product. So like It could be improving the UI. It could be some code to make something functional, whatnot. And then the other bucket is sales. So customer relationships, meetings, things like that. And a lot of people think, oh, startups are super complex. Like there's just so many things that you have to do. But that sort of framework helps boil things down to the only two things that matter in a startup, which is making money and building a good product that users love. And as long as every activity that you're doing maps to one of those two things, ideally there's less jumps that you have to do, then I think you can figure things out and make progress and know that you're not crazy, you're not spinning your wheels on things that don't matter.
Yeah, I think it's especially important to basically figure out your priorities throughout the day. Otherwise, you get a little lost in the process. And I think that's, yeah, very important. But throughout, your day of kind of hitting these priorities each day, do you find yourself, I guess, becoming distracted, or is there like an app that you secretly spend the most of your time on, and instead of like working on the startup?
Yeah, I would say so. Two thoughts there. One, the answer is YouTube. I go down these YouTube rabbit holes all the time, mostly on my Mac, on my computer. The algorithm knows me too well, and as soon as I'm done with whatever random niche video that they've thrown my way, then the shorts start showing up, and I'm like, okay, this is good. I got to keep going. On my phone itself, though, I have a good friend who has set up some screen time limitations on my phone. So it's screen time compared with parental controls, so that once I reach a certain number of time across like all my social media apps or things that I'm spending too much time on, then I have to enter a passcode, and only my friend knows that passcode. So it's kind of like a good fail safe where honestly, this is a good tidbit of advice is, again, a lot of people think founders are super disciplined and they have things figured out and that they're doing cold plunges all the time. Sorry, Darian, that's not true. But it's structuring your environment in a way of eliminating those distractions so that you don't have that decision of like not opening TikTok, not opening Facebook, not opening Instagram. Like the decision's already been made for me. I've already spent my time on there. I already spent my 20 minutes a day on it. And I don't have to use more willpower to stay away from it. The decision's done.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Still waiting for you to do your cold plunge and record a day in the life of a founder video.
Yeah, maybe if I make it up to Ithaca, we can work out something.
I feel like staying up in Ithaca itself is already like living in a cold plunge.
Yeah, especially during the winter. You do like a cold plunge in BB Lake. That would be the ultimate morning routine.
Right? That would just separate like the good founders from the great founders.
Yeah.
But as we're wrapping up here, I think we should jump into our very exciting lightning round. So this is where we tend to ask just quicker questions, just to prompt shorter responses and ask some questions that maybe we didn't get to earlier on.
Cool.
And these could just range from just more habit/personality to more crazy TikTok type questions.
Oh
So
boy.
I guess we'll jump right in. All right, this first one I got for you is if your company had a mascot that perfectly represented your culture, what would it be?
Ooh. I think that's a good question. We'll say a cockroach, because I that's not I wouldn't put this on the company branding or anything like that, but a lot of times people say at some point you got to become a cockroach. You just like can't be killed, and I want to say that's what will make us survive. And as we figure out the right product market fit here is just not being killed in the process.
Yeah, Cockroach is definitely a very interesting choice that you got going on over there. But I got another question for you. This is kind of crazy because you're building something that you really love and something that you're, I guess, more passionate about and something that you're putting in effort every single day to achieve. But this question is a little more extreme, but like on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you hate your own product?
With 10 being a ton, or
Like 10, yeah, being like you extremely hate your product.
hate my product. Oh man. I mean, if you would have asked me this maybe 6 months ago, so we've done a couple rewrites throughout this process, which I thought was a little bit unique from the startup lens, but apparently this happens more often than not. Our first product was written all in Flutter, and man, I hated that thing to an 11, we'll say. But I would say in its current state, it's nice and pretty. We'll put it in like the 2 to 3 range.
That's good. That's quite the contrast. glad it dropped after you got those tweaks figured out.
Yeah, UI is important.
Yeah, definitely. Now diving into more so again about like the culture of what it's like to be a founder and the work itself. Do you have a rule that you set within your own firm? Say like maybe like no phones or like screen time just for every person working, or you're not a believer in that?
No, I think I don't want to become too overbearing of a manager. I think at the end of the day, our ethos is if the work gets done, then it doesn't matter how you go about doing that. So I'll embrace a pretty remote style. If you work well, being on TikTok half the day, and things are what you're meeting expectations for the work output, I'm okay with that. I mean, there's a very high correlation that if you are on TikTok for that duration, then it's likely the code that you're pushing is a little bit buggy. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, I don't want to become a micromanager and really just care about output and optimizing for that.
Yeah, everybody works in their own different way. So, if it works for them,
Yeah.
then I just stick with it, right? Yeah.
Mm.
My next question to you is, I guess something just about you, but I would say like, which personality trait of yours do you think costs you the most amount of money?
Cost me the most amount of money?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Mhm.
That's a good question. I would say I'm not very compulsive, which is good. Like I don't like do impulse buying, or I'm not big into that. I think that I am pretty big into, I don't know if it's a personality trait, but just general wellness and longevity type of stuff. So I spend nearly all of my money on food or workout classes or working out things. So yeah, I would say it costs me the most, but I think there's a pretty good ROI of they say health is wealth. And that's the other important thing is I don't want to emerge at the end of this. Even let's say I have a great exit and I'm 250 pounds. I'm miserable. My cholesterol's through the roof. Like, like ideally that's not the case. And I want to maintain, in order to be sharp around the business though, I also believe that the mind and the body is very much so connected. So I think investing in those things actually pays dividends into the business as well.
100% agree with that. At the end of the day, like the most important thing is your health, which kind of surprises me why you haven't done any cold plunges yet.
I got to do one now, Darian. This is you're now giving me some FOMO, and I gotta check this box off.
Yeah, I'm like being a cockroach to you about cold plunges. Like it's never going away.
That was good.
But sort of on the theme of wellness, and you mentioned at one point where like struggles were at an 11. Which part of startup life makes you want to just throw your whole laptop out the window?
Oh man, a lot of stuff related to we had a period of time where we were just getting a lot of bugs in the code. And we were doing a lot of manual checks on certain things. And oh man, I had a lot of like 5 a.m. nights just like manually checking stuff, information. And oh, it drove me nuts. I think there was a lot of probably reached my breaking point a couple times where you just kind of need to like reset after periods like that. But I don't know. I have a strong conviction in the vision, really trying to embody this cockroach mentality, and I think that just really helps gets you through some of those tough sticking points there.
Yeah, I'm glad that you didn't have to mention too many times where you felt like throwing your laptop out of the window, except for
Yeah,
that one initial time, which is
yeah.
definitely good, definitely the goal in life. But would you say if you had to outsource like a part of your brain and then I guess have that working on the side, what part would that be?
Just in regards to the business or your personal life.
Like, I guess you working on your business, like I guess your own brain, your own brain.
My
It's
own
like
brain.
where you delegate.
Yeah, to like a specific activity of like having that focus.
It could be like sleep. It could be like eating. It could be.
Sleep or eating. Yeah, interesting. I actually don't know if I have a good answer there. Um, I might have to pass on that one. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything that's striking me right there.
Okay, perfectly valid. I that's a good question. I don't even know what I would choose. Like maybe like and if you weren't to feel an emotion, like outsourcing that part of your brain, so you don't get anxious, you don't get nervous.
Oh,
Got to do a coffee chat. Like I would say that, but I also think it's good to have a bit of conscious about like maybe your palms are sweaty in your life just because it makes the reward that much more rewarding. That's my take.
yeah. I
Uh-huh.
think if I could outsource something in my life, it would be something in regards to dating. If I could maintain some relationships with people, and not have to spend a lot of mental capacity on that, then I think that would be pretty nice.
That would be nice. Just like
That
go.
sounds pretty bad. I better. I hope the person I'm talking to doesn't hear this.
You never know. Well, just as we wrap things up, I have one more question for you. And I remember during our early conversations, we talked about some of the ideas that you had before Pro Nexus. So, what is the craziest idea that you came up with before starting Pro Nexus?
Hmm.
That's a good question. I've had some crazy ideas. The one that was right before it that I actually spent some time and resources on was called Carrot. And what Carrot did was it was like a crowdfunding investment platform for small businesses and like restaurants. And I really struggled with connecting with that restaurant group. And actually, something pretty funny that I did was the name was Carrot, and there was this convention that was coming to New York that I wanted to be a part of. So I bought a ticket for like $10, and I bought a carrot suit off of Amazon for like $30, and I wore it to this convention. And I had the most social anxiety from this, but I got more leads in that span of time than I did months of like cold outreach, cold prospecting. Just because everyone approached me, I didn't have to approach anyone. Like they all came up to me and was like, "Hey, why are you dressed in a carrot?" And it was just incredible marketing, and it like stood out. People wanted to have a conversation, and yeah, it was horribly terrifying, but it was super effective. And yeah, probably one of the silliest things that I've done. The whole business didn't end up going too well. I still believe in the idea, but unfortunately, is not with us anymore.
That is a pretty crazy idea to do. And I think you just got to be bold, and it really goes to show that when you're bold, and you did take that risk actually, by wearing that whole carrot suit, you do get the rewards, you get the leads. So I guess maybe taking risks in life is good. Maybe you don't have to calculate so much, I guess, in that example. But yeah, to tie everything up, do you have any like last words that you would like to share with the audience? And also, where can our audience find some of your stuff, your work, or just where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm trying to write a little bit more on there. My name's Tom Myers. Yeah, aside from that, yeah, trying to share more thoughts there, but that's probably the best and most direct means to connect.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tom. We really appreciate your time, and it was really enjoyable talking to you.
Cool. Yeah, appreciate the questions, guys. This was a fun little journey to think back of some of these things. So appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
that concludes episode 105 of True Talks. Peace out.